Hey everybody, welcome to the tutorial for making a dream catcher. And you're going to have a bunch of things in your kit. You'll have your ring, you'll have some white yarn, you'll have your silver thread, and you have this little, what do we call this, bobbin. I made it out of cardboard. You can make your own if this is too small or too big or whatever. So first thing we're going to do is you're going to take your silver thread and weave it onto this bobbin from the loop you've gotten. So you start it by just putting it through this little slit here, and I'm actually going to chop off this frayed end. The one issue you may have with this thread is that it splits into its plies very easily. So just gently wrap it around the spool like this, and just keep going like that. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but when you are done, leave some of it, but catch it right back here and leave yourself, a few inches to start with, and then you'll just undo it and keep catching it there. That way it won't unravel uncontrollably while you're in the middle of making your dream catcher. Okay, the second thing you're going to do is you're going to wrap your hoop with the white yarn. Easiest way to do that is leave an end, because you might want to use that to hang it with later, and just tie a knot. Just a plain knot is fine. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to start wrapping the yarn around the hoop, and you just keep doing this whichever direction you go. Just keep going, and just you want to basically pull it tight. You can let it go loose, and then what you can do, I've found, is just twist it on. So I'm not keeping it tight as I'm looping it. Whoops. And this takes a while, but what you can do is then you pull the end, then you can stick it together like this. And then if it gets loose, you just twist it in the same direction that you've been wrapping it. And you want to go all around the whole loop, and then tie the end. And so you'll have something that looks like this. Okay? Now, the rest of the video is going to be a little bit choppy because I'm not going to make you watch me do absolutely everything. But what you'll do is you take your silver thread, and again, you're gonna knot it onto the loop just once for right now. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Do it twice, because you're gonna be pulling this kind of tight, and if you get pretty far into it and you pull it tight and it undoes, you'll get very frustrated. So I'm gonna double knot this here. And so this is how I'm gonna start. And what you'll do is you take your spool. Remember, you're gonna keep some of the thread wrapped up, and you hook it into this little slit in the thing. What you'll do in the spindle, whatever you call this. Okay, so what you'll do is you make a loop like this, and then you're gonna bring it through. And what you're gonna do is keep doing that around this loop, and you can make these as close as you want or as far apart as you want. I'm doing it about 1.5 inches. So over this way, coming through the loop in the middle, and I'm gonna do this around the whole this whole circle, and I will come back when I'm done with that. Okay, now I've gotten my loops, all these initial loops, all the way around the circle. And if they're not totally even, that's fine. If you really want to make them even, what you do is you just loosen them up, and you can move them where you need to. And you just can go all the way back. Now this next bit is a little bit tricky. What you're going to do is you take your last loop here, and you see where you started it? You're gonna just take your thread and wrap it around like this, okay? You may need to just sort of hold that until you get going, your next one. And you're going to skip this loop here, right? So now all you're doing is wrapping around, going either from the front to the back or the back to the front. It doesn't matter as long as you keep it consistent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the front to the back, and I'm just going to take my spindle spool, stick it through these bits in between, and I'm going to do that all the way around. So front to back, okay, front to back, and you see you're starting to make your star pattern. It's not going to be even to start. That's fine. Don't worry about it. But what I want to make sure is that I don't make a knot. Oops, there already is a knot in my thread. So I'm going to ignore that for right now. That shouldn't be there. Actually, let me see if I can get this out. Okay. I don't know how I did that, but I did. And I will undo it. Despite the fact that this thread splits easily, it is kind of easy to work with if you make a mistake like that. So now I undid it. So I'm going front to back in here. And again, I'm going to just go all the way around, and I'm going to come back to you when I'm done. Now, just so you know, you see how that kind of got loose? You just pull this up, and you're gonna hold it each time you get to this end, but you can let it go right now. It's not gonna be a problem. Okay, now I've made it all the way around of my first loops or second set of loops, and this is where we had just wrapped it around. You want to make sure that you hold this, and you see how now you've got two pieces right here. So from our next row of these, and again, you can just pull it snug. You want to hold on to this piece here when you're doing this, just so it doesn't pop forward. You can loosen this a little bit, and what I'm going to do is the same thing I did before. I'm taking this for me, it's from the front to the back, putting my thread through that, okay? Okay, so now I've got that going, and now I'm going to catch the next row and go around the same way. So I'm going into the bottom of the triangles that are created by these loops that I'm making. See? And if it helps, just hold on to the place where the threads cross and hold on to your thing. Now, you see how, as I pull it tight, this thing comes loose again? I'm going to pull this up like this. And in fact, what I may do is just tie these together. That might help a little bit. Just loosely for right now. And then maybe I can let go of it. Yeah, I can. Good. And again, I've got a little too much thread here, so I'm going to wrap this up because you kind of can't see what you're doing when there's too much. And pop it through that slit there. Okay, and now taking the next triangle, front to back, hold on to that loop. The next triangle is here, front to back. And just sort of keep finding your triangle going front to back. And you can pull it and see where you go. And what you do is you keep doing that all the way around until you get to the size that you want. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll come back to you when I get to the end so that I can show you how to stop it, okay? Okay, when you've gotten to the point where you want to end it, remember to first tighten this piece, the where you had started everything, and I'm actually going to let go of where I was. So now I'm going to knot this so that it stops being as loose as it was, and I'm just sort of looping this around like this. Actually, I'm gonna pull it as tight as possible first, then I'm gonna loop it around in the middle of this square and make sure to catch all of those little frayed ends. And I'm gonna knot this here, okay? Now, don't worry that it's loose. What you're gonna do is you're gonna start, you can pull this tight, right? Your working end. And then if you want to just sort of reorganize where this is, if it looks like it's super uneven, or you don't like the way something, you know, the way it looks, you can literally, I mean, it's very easy. You just stick your finger in the holes and sort of reorient where your diamonds, triangles are, and pull it pretty tight. And now you see where I've got this whole joint, right? So there you've got this V coming down, this V coming up. This is kind of where I am. I am going to knot it here. And what I'm going to do is, the thread is in the back right now, so I'm going to bring it through the front, okay, all the way to the front. Then I'm going to take the spindle and stick it through this part here, around it. And you see how I'm making, it's hard to tell because it's twisted, but I'm making kind of a loop here, right? I'm going to hold on to this tight because I do not want this to loosen up. So I've made a loop here, and I'm going to bring my spindle through that loop. And that'll make, and I'm just going to pull it through my fingers to knot it. Because I really would I need to keep it stay the same. Now, once you're done with that, if you want to be absolutely sure, you do the same thing again, and then you can just snip your end. Now, this would be a time that might be a great idea to have some clear nail polish or something like that, clear nail polish or crazy glue, and just put a little teeny dab in both of these, on both of these knots, just to make sure they stay secure. And now we're going to hang our bottom hangings on, and I will come back to you with that. Hey everybody, I realized at the end of my video it got cut off, and so I'm redoing this end part of the video. So we've already completed the wall hanging in terms of the mesh on the inside, or the webbing, and it's really handy to have either some crazy glue, hot glue, or clear nail polish available to actually fasten the knots. So you'd fasten the knot that's inside the webbing, and glue the knot that started all the webbing, glue the knot for the yarn that you've wrapped around the hoop, and then if you hadn't left enough yarn to create a the hanging part of your wall hanging, you can just take some yarn, some of the extra yarn you've got, and make a double loop and just loop it around and pull the ends through, okay? Just like this. So you double it up, you bring a hoop through the mesh, and you loop the two ends through, and you pull it tight. So that'll be the top of the hanging. So Since I redid this and this particular part of the hanging, I had to glue already, and I can't really take off. I'll show you what I did with this sort of, it's a little bit challenging piece that you've got in there, and you could choose to use it or not. It's up to you. But you've got all these other ribbons here. What you're going to do is you're going to take them and fold them in half. So you've got a loop at the top, see? And decide which way you're going to put it through, whether you're going to pull it through this way, which would have it look one way. I'll show you. So, and you want to pull this pretty tight. Or, now I'm going to take this out. I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to push the loop through from the front, or what I've chosen to be the front of my wall hanging, and then take these two ends, pull them through, and then you get a different look. See, you get this little bar here. So it's up to you how you like it. I like it with the bar in front like this. And you're going to do that in whichever order you choose, with all of your little pieces of ribbon. So I'm putting it through front to back, looping it around. And I sort of want it to be kind of centered on the bottom. And it just happens to be that I've got this nice little space here, so I can put them all on kind of in that this little hole right here. So I'm just going to put on this many. Now, you've also got this kind of funky mixture of ribbon and little pearls, and it's got little stitching here, which may or may not still be working for you. Now, this won't work to put it around in a loop just because of the pearls specifically. So what you can do is take the end that is open, okay, or cut it so that the end is open, it's not attached. You see on this side, it's got a little stitching that's sort of holding them together very loosely. And you can thread it through. And again, as I said, this is pretty fussy. But what I would do is let go of the little pearly bit, make a little knot here. Try to keep the ends pretty short. And then you're gonna knot it like this. And then what you can do, sorry about the phone, but what you can do is you can actually glue it in place right here. But I would glue it and stick this little piece, because this is kind of fishing line, so this is pretty stiff. You can put it through the knot, see if you can thread it through the loop that you've got here, or just thread it through the knot that you made before you glue it, and then glue it in place, or nail polish it in place, or whatever you want. Sometimes it'll help to just pull through if you can with little knots. And then you've got this piece. But as I said, it's kind of fussy. You want to make sure that you've got it kind of wrapped. You could wrap it around, I guess, if you want to. See, you can hook the pearl behind the mesh at the bottom here and then glue it. But it's kind of as I said, kind of a pain. And then what I would do is, if it's got stitching on it and you want that to be kind of loose, I would just cut through the little stitching bit, and then you've got something that's a little wild. My suggestion would be to put that on first so that it's in the middle of all of these flat. But again, you do what you would like to see. And if you don't want to use it, don't. If you've got other ribbon that you'd like to mix in, go for it. So there you have your wall hanging. And if these pieces are too long, just trim them to the length that you want and hang it up on the wall. And enjoy your beautiful new wall hanging. Thank you.